Yeah, biggest one-day move ever in the company's history.
I want to get your thoughts on what we just got here from Palantir, because particularly on the U.S. commercial side, just trouncing expectations with very strong commentary, and it looks like outlook for 2024 with that growth expected to continue accelerating. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they've definitely cracked the code on how to translate their leadership in AI into the commercial business, starting with the U.S. They've started these AIP boot camps, which is an accelerated pilot to get some of their enterprise customers to figure out how to use AI in their current context with these new generative AI capabilities. And they've been able to do that very rapidly after producing a new product set about a year ago. They're now fully in stride in terms of getting enterprise customers to engage and adapt some of these products early.
That basically they're able to do more with less as they take these generative AI and software capabilities that they're offering to commercial and government customers, and they're applying them internally as well.
Kevin Green is with us, senior markets correspondent here on Schwab Network, taking a look at Palantir, up about 25%. What a move, and some upgrades as well. Tell us some details about Palantir today.
Yeah, we are seeing a nice upside move, and I know a lot of shareholders that have been holding this stock for a long time are happy to see it break above that $20 level here. Let's see if it's going to maintain itself. But we are now seeing analysts starting to shift their focus when it comes to Palantir. We actually have Citi upgrading the stock to a neutral from a sell rating with a new price target of $20, and that's up from $10 here. Obviously, they were impressed by the results that we saw last night with the commercial business having outsized growth compared to what the street's expectations were, and then also better free cash flow as well as profitability for the quarter and their outlook for the year here. So they're turning a little bit more bullish, to say the least, when it comes to the stock. Now, obviously, that price level is already being hit at this point in time here. It would be nice to see them change it from a neutral to a buy. That would be a really bullish indicator. But once again, we're getting a change in sentiment. We also have Jefferies upgrading the stock to a hold from an underperform with a new price target of $22. That's up from $13, citing the same type of things as well. Now, one thing to also note here, Nicole, is the market has really been focusing on the mix of business compared to how much they really rely on government contracts compared to what we are seeing on the commercial side. And now we are starting to see that shift where commercial is starting to gain a little bit more traction. So we are seeing that being implied in the stock here. I think the last thing that investors are going to focus on is the dilution of shares, which has also put downward pressure on this stock. If they actually stop that dilution, that could also provide a little bit of a fundamental base for the stock moving forward.
Yeah, that is a very interesting aspect of adopting AI. This is a company that's led in the application of machine learning for more than 20 years. It's just a year ago that they started incorporating generative AI capabilities. Not only did they produce an external-facing product set for enterprise customers, as we just discussed, they're also using those tools internally, and they've embraced that internally. At the same time, they did what a lot of technology companies did last year, which is start reducing headcount while they were growing by taking it out of places where growth did no longer existed and refocusing it on places where growth was emerging, mostly around generative AI.
Now, I think, Gil, that I heard that Alex Karp, the CEO, told Morgan that the commercial momentum they were experiencing is going to help their government business. You pointed out that government business growth has been lower recently. Does that make sense to you? You have questions about that?
It's harder to take people out of government and put them in a boot camp or an AI boot camp to start embracing new applications. The process for government acquisition is a multi-year process, but they're well on their way. They already led in that regard in terms of building government applications, but this is a multi-year ramp. They're not going to be able to have an inflection point this year. They'll be able to sell one government at a time, one agency at a time, and ramp that up over time. But again, they already go into this as the leading dual-purpose software company for the government. And so they're in a very advantageous position. it's just unlikely that we'll see an inflection point this year in that business.
And then also too, just kind of keep in mind, it wasn't eligible to be a part of the S&P 500 when they did the previous rebalance. But if you actually look at its market cap as well as the profitability, next time the S&P 500 does rebalance, this could actually be a candidate that does get put in there. And I think there's going to be some enthusiasm around that as that starts to, as we get closer and closer to that rebalancing date. So I think overall it's a good report, a little bit light on revenue, but who hasn't been light on revenue when you're looking at the guidance? And then overall, when you're looking at the growth area of their business, the commercial side, that's going to drive profitability moving forward. Remove yourself away from those government contracts as much as possible. They're going to just be there, and I think the market's going to really appreciate this this quarter that they just reported here.
You know, the thing that I feel like the best thing the stock has got going for it is that among the 20 analysts that cover it, 8 say to sell, which I'm very surprised by. I know there's been some kind of disappointment in some of those relationships they have and some of their sales, but with profitability now a year positive plus on a GAAP basis, that stands out in anything kind of cloud and growth tech related. Still growing top line at 20%, 6 holds, 8 sells, only 6 buys. That's a really bearish analyst profile by the standards of companies in this group. So I get that they want to transition and they want to kind of make some changes to where they get their money from. But right now, when they're hitting expectations, it kind of seems like some of these analysts might be a little bit too negative. Kevin, quick last thought.
Yeah, I think the analysts are probably banking a little bit more when it comes to the government revenue rather than the commercial revenue. That's probably the view there. And actually, Oliver, the company did actually miss on the government revenue portion of this earnings announcement. It came in at $324 million versus the street's estimate of $334.2 million. But the commercial side was able to make it up. So that's probably why we are seeing a bid. And then also we have to just kind of keep in mind, onboarding customers for them is very, very difficult. Each customer is going to be different. It's not just like a regular onboarding process. So we have seen some fluctuations when it comes to their guidance moving forward, when it comes to their backlog, as well as the top line number here. But I'm sure these analysts are probably going to be readjusting their models moving forward, knowing that this mix has gone to a little bit more of a favorable and profitable mix that investors want to see.
Okay. All right, nice. Palantir was the highlight last night. It's gone over a year now making money on the bottom line, but it still has been kind of stuck technically for several quarters. So what are we looking at?
It has, but not stuck so technically. At least it looks like we're expected to open. I mean, significantly higher.
Pop, right?
Yeah, it was up 19% yesterday after the close, as high as I could see. So beat their fourth quarter expectations for revenue, came in line on earnings. They did reinstate their right now full year guidance. That was pretty much in line with what they'd previously guided for. The CEO went on to say, though, their expansion and growth has never been greater, especially for their large language models in the U.S. That continues to be unrelenting, he said. They've also been rolling out their AI intelligence platform, otherwise known as AIP, and they did say they carried out nearly 600 pilots with the technology last year versus less than 100 the year prior. So they're growing. And this is a company that has a really sizable contract with the U.S. government, actually. Its U.S. commercial revenue grew 70% year over year. They said it was all in all thanks to the 55% increase from overall customers. So U.S. government has been a huge win for them because that's reliable, consistent revenue that, has been a huge win for them for now several quarters.
Market was kind of worried about it for a little bit there, though. This is a nice reprieve.
And because they had so many. It was like the summer of contracts for Palantir, so that was huge. And this name used to be caught up somewhat in like the meme stock frenzy, but I was checking this morning, only about 5% of its shares are sold short. Tesla's like 3.5%, so it's not a meme stock anymore, and it's profitable, it's consistent, and it's able to still maintain its guidance for the rest of the year. So that's a huge win for a name like Palantir. That's volatile, no doubt.
Yeah, all right. Going to be a good day, it seems like, at least out of the gate for some of the cloud-connected stuff for this. Because when you're breaking out to the upside and stock that's kind of been stuck, it should be encouraging.